There's this moment that happens when someone finally tells you the truth, the real truth, and suddenly everything you thought you understood gets rewritten. Sally Field just did that. At 78 years old, she opened up about Robin Williams in a way that changed everything, and honestly, what she revealed will probably sit with you long after this video ends. But here's what makes it so powerful. This isn't coming from someone chasing relevance or trying to stay in headlines. This is coming from a woman who has spent 6 decades in Hollywood, who has seen and survived everything this industry throws at people, and who has finally reached a point where truth matters more than image. And when someone like that decides to speak, you listen. Sally described her feelings for Robin in words that most people spend their whole lives afraid to say out loud. I really loved him, but it wasn't like a romance. It was more complicated than that. Think about the courage it takes to admit something that messy, that undefined, that human. She explained that their connection went beyond any label we'd try to put on it. It was rooted in something deeper, timing, shared pain, emotional recognition, the kind of bond that doesn't fit into neat categories but leaves a permanent mark anyway. They worked together on Mrs. Doubtfire in 1993, a film that became an instant cultural touchstone. On screen, their chemistry felt strikingly real. They argued, pushed each other, found moments of tenderness that felt impossible to fake. Millions of viewers watched them and believed every second. What most people didn't realize was that the closeness wasn't just performance. It reflected something genuine happening between them during that time. Sally admitted that when she thinks about Robin now, the memories come mixed with sadness and regret. I miss him terribly. But I also know that I didn't always say the things I should have said when he was alive. That kind of vulnerability hits differently because it's something we've all felt. That haunting awareness that we had time and didn't use it. That we assumed there would always be another conversation, another moment, another chance. She described working with him as stepping into another universe entirely. Robin's mind moved at a speed that left everyone around him scrambling to keep up. He'd jump from joke to joke, idea to idea, his energy overwhelming but completely magnetic. He could make a room explode with laughter in seconds. Sally once said that he'd make you laugh until your stomach hurt, and then suddenly say something so gentle and sincere that it stopped you cold. To her, that contrast defined him completely. He was both the clown and the poet, wrapped into one fragile soul. But beneath all that brilliance, Sally saw something most people missed. She felt an undercurrent of pain in him, something quiet but constant. I could see the sadness even when he was making everyone laugh, she explained, describing it like a shadow that never fully left. Looking back now, she wishes she had reached out more. She wonders if she could have done something, anything, to ease that weight. She questions whether he truly understood how deeply he was loved by the people closest to him. What makes her reflection so devastating is the honesty. She's not painting herself as someone who had all the answers. She's admitting she didn't. She's saying she noticed she cared, but she didn't act strongly enough. And that regret, that's something that cuts to the bone because it's so painfully relatable. Sally explained that Robin used comedy as armor. He made jokes not just to entertain others, but to protect himself emotionally. She noticed moments on set when performance would stop, and in those quiet spaces, his vulnerability became visible. She said their on-screen family dynamic was built on trust, and off-screen, that trust carried over into real conversations. Robin listened deeply. He offered empathy. He had an emotional awareness that surprised people who only knew him as the guy who couldn't stop cracking jokes. Her words challenged the public image of Robin Williams in a profound way. People assumed that because he made others laugh, he must have been happy all the time. Sally pushed back hard against that idea, making it clear that joy given to the world doesn't always mean joy felt inside. Someone can be surrounded by love, success, and admiration, yet still feel completely isolated internally. She wanted people to understand that, to really sit with it, because it shifts the conversation from shock to compassion. She didn't speak from a place of blame. She spoke with respect, making sure her words honored who Robin was, not just how he's remembered. She described him as a gentle soul who cared deeply about people and carried emotional weight quietly. And by opening up about this, she did more than share a memory. She gave the world permission to see him as fully human, complex and deeply meaningful beyond the spotlight. For Sally, Robin Williams remains a powerful reminder of how thin the line can be between light and darkness. His story reflects the importance of saying what matters before time quietly slips away. And at 78, Sally has made it clear she's done holding anything back. But to understand why her words carry so much weight now, you have to understand the journey that brought her here. Because Sally Field didn't just become this person overnight. She was forged by decades of pressure, reinvention, heartbreak, and an almost terrifying refusal to stay in the box Hollywood kept trying to build around her. She was born Sally Margaret Field on November 6, 1946, in Pasadena, California. She didn't randomly fall into fame. She was raised right in the middle of the entertainment world. Her mother, Margaret Field, was an actress. Her stepfather, Jock Mahoney, was a well-known actor and stuntman. From the time she could form memories, she was watching the industry from the inside, seeing what it actually cost to be famous. Not the glamorous version sold to the public, the real version, where you trade pieces of yourself for applause and validation that never quite fills the emptiness. That early exposure shaped her in ways most child stars never survive. She learned quickly how demanding this world could be, but also fueled something fierce in her, a passion to perform. Yes, but also a need to prove she was more than what people assumed. By the mid-60s, she grabbed attention as Gidget, playing a carefree teenager in a show that only lasted one season, but turned her into a household name almost overnight. Viewers connected with her energy. Hollywood started paying attention. She followed that with The Flying Nun from 1967 to 1970, playing Sister Bertrille, a quirky young nun who could literally fly. The concept was absurd, but Sally carried it with charm and sharp comedic timing. The show became popular, and for a while, she was America's sweetheart. But behind the scenes, Sally was suffocating. She didn't want to stay stuck playing light-hearted characters forever. She wanted respect as a serious actress, and that hunger pushed her to make a decision that most actors in her position wouldn't dare. She walked away from easy success and trained at the Actors Studio under legendary coach Lee Strasberg. That wasn't casual. That was someone willing to rebuild from scratch because they knew they were capable of more. In 1976, she proved it. She took on Sybil, a television movie where she played a woman with dissociative identity disorder. The role was brutal, emotionally exhausting, risky in every possible way. But she didn't hold back. She went all in, and when it aired, critics and audiences were stunned. This wasn't The Flying Nun anymore. This was a serious, fearless actress with range most people spend decades trying to develop. That performance won her an Emmy and completely shifted how Hollywood viewed her. The late 70s and 80s became her defining era. In 1979, she won her first Academy Award for Norma Rae, portraying a working-class Southern woman who becomes a labor union activist. The role felt real, grounded, bold, and connected deeply with audiences. A few years later, she won her second Oscar for Places in the Heart in 1984, a moving story set during the Great Depression. Her acceptance speech, where she said, "You like me, right now you like me," became instant history. People still reference it today, but most don't realize what it actually meant. It wasn't just gratitude. It was a relief. It was validated after years of being dismissed. From there, she never stopped. Smokey and the Bandit, Steel Magnolias, Mrs. Doubtfire, Forrest Gump. She brought something real to every single role. On television, she remained powerful, especially in Brothers and Sisters from 2006 to 2011, earning another Emmy. On Broadway, she commanded the stage in The Glass Menagerie, proving she could hold a live audience with no safety net. In 2012, she played Mary Todd Lincoln in Spielberg's Lincoln, earning another Oscar nomination well into her 60s. Even in her 70s, she kept working, not because she needed the fame, but because storytelling was in her bones. But all of that success, all those awards, none of it protected her from the weight she carried privately. Sally has always been brutally honest about her struggles. Self-doubt, depression, the suffocating pressure of relationships lived under a microscope. In 2018, she released her memoir in pieces and laid it all out. No sugarcoating, no polished PR version, just the truth, raw and unflinching. One of the most vulnerable revelations in that book was about her late teenage years. She described experiencing severe depression. Not a passing sadness, but an overwhelming emotional weight that touched nearly every part of her life. She explained it as this urgency, this anxiety, this need to find something that was festering in me. She felt incomplete, like her spirit was pressing against invisible walls. She sensed something meaningful existed within her, waiting to be discovered, but she had no guide and no certainty she'd ever reach it. Looking back now, her openness about those struggles adds another profound layer to her story. It shows that her strength wasn't about avoiding pain. It was about facing it honestly, surviving it, and eventually using it to fuel everything she created. Her personal life was just as layered and complicated. In 1968, she married Stephen Craig while still early in her career. That marriage gave her stability during the chaos of rising fame, but it faced serious challenges and eventually ended with separation in 1973 and divorce in 1975. Those years, though, gave her something irreplaceable. She became a mother. She and Stephen had 2 sons. Peter Craig, born in 1969, grew up surrounded by storytelling and became a successful novelist and screenwriter, working on major films like The Town and Top Gun Maverick. Their second son, Eli Craig, born in 1972, became an actor and director, known for the cult favorite Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. For Sally, motherhood was never secondary to fame. She worked hard to balance Hollywood's demands with raising Peter and Eli, trying to give them as normal an upbringing as possible despite the relentless spotlight. After her marriage ended, her personal life shifted again in 1976 when she entered a highly publicized relationship with Burt Reynolds. Their romance quickly grabbed public attention and refused to let go. They were seen as one of Hollywood's most glamorous couples in the late 70s and early 80s. Everywhere they went, cameras followed. They weren't just a couple off-screen, they were major collaborators on it, starring together in 4 films, including Smokey and the Bandit, its sequel, The End, and Hooper. Their natural chemistry lit up the screen and made audiences believe the passion was real, because it was. But behind the scenes, the relationship was far from easy. Like many high-profile romances, theirs came with clashing personalities, demanding careers, and constant pressure. They officially broke up in 1980, continued an on-and-off relationship until 1982, then finally ended it for good. Years later, Reynolds openly called Sally the one that got away. For Sally, the relationship may not have lasted, but it left a lasting impact on how she approached love, independence, and her career moving forward. In 1984, she married film producer Alan Greisman, signaling a new phase focused more on balance and growth. Together they had a son, Samuel, born in 1987. Unlike his older half-brothers, Sam largely stayed outside the Hollywood spotlight. When Sam came out as gay, Sally became a vocal advocate for LGBTQ rights, showing the world that her love for her children came without conditions. She and Alan divorced in 1994, another painful ending, but Sally kept moving forward. She always did. Through marriages, breakups, and motherhood, Sally Field showed remarkable resilience. She balanced personal challenges while maintaining a powerful career, proving that her private life was just as complex as the characters she portrayed on screen. Each chapter helped shape her not only as an actress, but as a woman who loved deeply, endured loss, and found fulfillment through her children. Now at 78, she's reflecting on everything with a clarity that only comes from living fully. And recently, when she spoke about Robin Williams, it wasn't just about honoring a friend. It was about offering a lesson, about love, about honesty, about how fragile life truly is. She made it clear that sharing these truths wasn't about revealing secrets. It was about telling a fuller story, one rooted in empathy and realism. She wanted people to see Robin Williams as human, to understand that fame doesn't protect you from pain, that laughter doesn't equal happiness, and that someone can give so much joy to the world while quietly drowning inside. Her reflection sparked powerful reactions. Fans said her honesty helped them better understand Robin as a person, not just a performer. It reopened conversations about mental health, emotional pressure, and the unrealistic expectations placed on public figures. Sally challenged the way people think about fame and what it truly means to know someone beyond the spotlight. She described their time working together as special and emotionally rich. Even years later, she spoke of him with warmth, gratitude, and a quiet sadness that never fully faded. Her words showed that some connections leave a permanent mark even after time passes, that certain people shape us in ways we carry forever. At this stage in her life, Sally Field seems focused on honesty over image. She's offering something rare in Hollywood: transparency without agenda, vulnerability without self-pity, wisdom earned through decades of living, not performing. By speaking openly about Robin Williams, about her depression, about her complicated relationships and personal struggles, she's doing more than sharing her story. She's giving permission for others to be messy, to be complicated, to be human. She's reminding us that we don't have to have all the answers, that sometimes love doesn't fit into categories, that sometimes we miss our chance to say what matters. Sometimes we see the pain in someone and still don't know how to help, and that all of that is part of being human too. For Sally Field, Robin Williams remains a powerful reminder of how thin the line can be between light and darkness, how someone can be surrounded by love yet feel completely alone, how we can care deeply and still fail to reach someone in time. His story reflects the importance of saying what matters before those moments quietly slip away. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sally Field spent her whole life performing, winning awards, earning respect, building a legacy. But now, at 78, she's realized that none of that matters as much as the truth. The messy, complicated, painful, beautiful truth about who we are, who we love, and what we wish we'd said while we still had the chance.